Have you seen those posters? What are you doing?
I'm listening to anime!
But sweetie, anime is a primarily visual experience, and you don't even speak Japanese. You can't expect to appreciate it just by listening.
Well, what would you have me do? Learning Japanese isn't possible, and I have to wear the blindfold to rest my tired eyes!
Why not listen to an audiobook on
Audible, the world's leading provider of audiobooks. Text exclamation point to 500 or head on over to audible.com/exclamation point to get a 30-day free trial, which includes any audiobook that you want for free, along with 2 free Audible originals that you can't get anywhere else.
Do you mean to tell me that this video is sponsored by Audible?
Yes, you dolt!
Yes, you dolt! Audible members get free audiobooks every single month, like this beautiful full cast recording of Philip Pullman's The Golden Compass that you can listen to on the go, like on your way to school, or work, or church.
Do you see now what makes Audible the internet's go-to source for sound-based storytelling?
I can't see a thing.
Audible, start your free trial at audible.com/exclamation point, or text exclamation point to 500. We can text now, or click the link in the description. Text, link, helps me, helps you. Audible, link, text, Audible, consume Audible, Audible. Well, it's that time again. After the relative failure of my last seasonal impressions video, I thought it was time to try the exact same thing, but during a different season and while I'm in the middle of moving to a different state. This is surely an excellent decision. I watched the first episode of every anime that came out this season and wrote a tiny little blurb that'll tell you exactly what you should think about them. Doing my best not to include sequels, spin-offs, continuations, and porn, that leaves us with 26 new animated offerings straight from the land of the rising sun. I'm also gonna do something a little different than last time, and at the end of each review, I'm going to give the show one of 3 ratings: watch, test, or skip. I think they're pretty self-explanatory, but watch means I'm confident enough in the show's execution to recommend watching all 12 episodes just on the basis of the first one. Test means that the first episode didn't impress me enough for a watch rating, but either I think it has potential, or I think it would strongly appeal to audience who are not me, so I'd give it the old Madoka test and find out for yourself whether or not it's worth your time. Skip means skip. Do not pass go, do not collect 200 yen. For those of you who don't want to sit through what'll probably be my longest video to date, here are my big 3 recommendations for this season. Here you go, there they are. Wow, I am still not sure what I'm putting in this spot, but golly, look at those cartoons. I especially like this one. Wow, look at that drawing, top notch. Sorry, like I said, in the middle of moving, packing literally as I record this, so I'll think about all that later while I'm editing somewhere else. For the rest of the shows, keep in mind that I am a curmudgeon. I hate most things and forgot how to feel happiness a few years back. I shouldn't have to say this, but you will like things that I don't like. This is fine, and I fully expect that there will be a show, but probably only one, that I'm totally wrong about. Feel free to tell me which one in the comments, because I do want to see it. With all that out of the way, it is finally time for, in alphabetical order, anime in summer 2019. What anime should you watch in summer 2019? Should you watch anime in summer 2019? Let's find out. Number 1. Are you lost? Are you into girls peeing into other girls' mouths? Yes? Well, too bad, because that only happens once in the first episode. Are You Lost is the story of 4 high school girls who are stranded on a deserted island after a plane crash. Luckily for everyone involved, one of those girls has quite a lot of experience with this sort of thing, and she's here to teach her classmates and the audience how to survive in the wilderness Bear Grylls style. At its heart, it's an offbeat 4-coma adaptation that somehow hit me in just the right way. So, assuming they don't find some weird hatch in the woods and find out that the island was actually purgatory the whole time, I think this one is worth trying out if you want something a little different. Test. Number 2. Refaretta, From Commonplace to World's Strongest. Remember Rising of the Shield Hero? Well, this is that, except that instead of a shield, it has a gun, and instead of having any semblance of depth or anarcho-capitalist purpose, it has an empty, poorly explained, grimdark, hatred-based teenage power fantasy. Light Novel Guy is exploring the Great Orcus Labyrinth with his plucky band of adventuring school classmates when they all get in over their heads, and I guess he gets separated from them somehow? And they're too slow to get him back or something? I don't really understand what happened, and I'm pretty sure that's not just because I was too bored afford to really pay attention. As a result, he gets his arm bitten off by this panda monster thing, has his hair bleached, invents gun, and loudly declares his intent to murder every living thing in the world and gain their powers by consuming their flesh. To his credit, at least that's a legit thing that happens, apparently. I found myself really enjoying this one, but that's because I have shit taste and am trash. It's the best parts of Sword Art Online with the execution of the worst parts of Sword Art Online. Watch this for the gory edgefest that it is, not if you have any kind of standards or memory of the feeling of shame. Skip. Number 3. Astra Lost in Space. This one's gonna be tough to judge in one episode, but the first episode is double length, so I think that says something in and of itself. 8 high school students and a small child with wildly different personalities are launched to an uninhabited planet to prove their worth or something by surviving in the wilderness for 5 days. Then, Star Trek Voyager happens and they have to make it all the way back to their home planet by themselves. Nothing about this show really stands out. The directing and the writing and the characterization and the art are all on the upper side of average. I would be proud to receive this script from a freshman in a creative writing course, but for a professionally produced anime production, it just feels kinda lacking. That's not to say you won't enjoy it, and I can see so many things that this show could do to become very good over time, but for now, it just seems like a worse Infinite Revias, even though I haven't seen Infinite Revias. Test. Number 4. Bem. Just Bem. That girl from Shirobako becomes a cop. While rooting out police corruption, she gets transferred to the low-income part of a cyberpunk megacity. Now she's tied up in a magical murder plot and has to either fight or team up with 3 aliens from Ben 10, one of whom is now a pimp, to bring the perps to justice. Didn't I just watch Copcraft? This is just a worse Copcraft, and Copcraft was already not my deal. There's nothing capital W wrong with this one, but there are 100 tiny glitches from clunky exposition to reusing footage from the OP for its transformation sequence that make this show deserve its 6.42 Maou score. If you're looking for an urban fantasy cop show in an industrial punk setting, then Copcraft should be good enough to scratch that strangely specific itch. If you don't have that itch, then don't watch this or Copcraft, because Copcraft will make you acquire that itch and then leave it unsatisfied. Skip. Number 5. Copcraft. 15 years ago, a portal opened up over the Atlantic Ocean, and now humanity has to deal with the denizens of another world who are just people with pointy ears and sometimes wings. When his partner is killed off by one of these aliens, our hero, a loose cannon cop on the edge who's hungry for revenge, gets teamed up with an eccentric, otherworldly noblewoman to recover a fairy who's in the process of being human trafficked and used to make literal fairy dust, like literally actually the drug. This one's an action-packed ride with quality pacing and art direction. It leans pretty heavily into standard buddy cop tropes, and the designs of its fancy races were disappointingly unimaginative, but it doesn't really do anything wrong. It's a strong action detective series with some cool minor supernatural elements that I can't really see getting worse over time. It's not my thing, but if you like cop stories, then put this one on your list. Test. Number 6. The Demon Girl Next Door. Protagonist McEverygirl wakes up one morning to discover that she's actually the descendant to a clan of demons and is now tasked with killing a magical girl and smearing her blood on the demonic penis rocket between her breasts so her mom can get her rent reduced. Like Do You Love Your Mother and her 2-hit multi-target attacks, which we're going to talk about later, this is a show that was born of a one-line pitch to a group of uninspired studio execs and grew into a one-line pitch that lasted for 12 episodes. This show's premise is the only thing it has going for it, and unlike Do You Love Your Mother and her 2-hit multi-target attacks, the premise isn't strong enough for me to bother with a second episode. Your mileage may vary, but gas is expensive and it's wise not to waste it. Skip. Number 7. Dr. Stone. Great green light gets everyone on Earth stoned. Do you get it? Do you get my joke about being stoned? Because they are turned to stone and being stoned. 3,700 years pass, and now it's up to buff dude and turnip-haired Jimmy Neutron to revive humanity from its marijuana-induced slumber. Do you get it? Because they were stoned. The eponymous doctor is the kind of dude who has E=MC² written on his jacket, and that should be all you need to know about the character writing in this show. It's hard to evaluate the plot based on one episode, since the whole deal seems to be that they're going to be reviving Medusa's victims one at a time, time, and the conflict is probably gonna come from reviving the wrong people at the wrong time, but frankly, the writing and directing in the first episode didn't really give me any reason to stick around and see if things got better. I'm not gonna take the 80-20 chance on wasting my life on it, but if you have unlimited time to spare, by all means, go ahead. Skip with a very minor sense that things could get better over time. Number 8. Do you love your mother and her 2-hit multi-target attacks? Congratulations, young male! You have been selected to be sucked into a video game world and live out all of your young male harem adventure fantasies with your mom. Your mom is there. You are in the video game world with your mom, and she is better at it than you. Do You Love Your Mother and Her 2-Hit Multi-Target Attacks is an example of one of those shows that could be so much more than it's going to be. If the writers of Kono Subarashi Sakai ni Shukufuku Wo had been given this premise, it would be anime of the decade, hands down. Instead, it was given to... who wrote this? Dachima. Instead, it was given to Dachima Inaka, and it's fine. The premise of this wacky isekai subversion is enough to keep it going, and I'll be interested in seeing what happens when the saucier bits of your standard otherworldly teenage boy harem fantasy get introduced in later episodes. For now, even though I don't expect it's going to end up being anything too extraordinary, it's definitely worth a shot if you want something off-kilter and kinda funny to watch with your mom. Test. Number 9. Ensemble Stars. Shy Boy, Rude Boy, Charming Boy, Happy Boy, and Logic Boy. By your powers combined, we have a harem anime! It's a harem anime, now featuring Forgetful Boy and Ambitious Boy. It's a harem anime. Are you a lonely female in her mid-teens to early 20s who wants to fantasize about being romanced by a bevy of musical boys? Perfect, it's a harem anime. Are you a die-hard fujoshi who gets her kicks off of writing fanfiction that takes the slightest hint of homoerotic subtext and shoots it to the god-dang moon? Heckin' wonderful, it's a harem anime. When imagining the perfect cast of characters, does it include a stretched-out eggplant with a burnt sea urchin where his hair should be and a cocaine-fueled humanoid smile that looks like it swallowed the sun? Well, sit your ass right down, because this is a harem anime. It's a harem anime. If you like those, then this is one. If you don't like those, then it's still one. Skip. And I just want to make clear, there's nothing wrong with liking this kind of thing. I go hard on making fun of it for comedic effect since I'm basically a professional entertainer, but if harem or reverse harem anime are your bag, then you fully have my support. Totally unironically. As long as you're not trying to say it's as good as Brotherhood or anything, we good, fam. Number 10. Fire Force. In a world where people just explode into fiery demons sometimes, it's up to the fire department to send those demons back whence they came with the power of water guns and Jesus and fire. I got about halfway through the first episode of this show, and then I got distracted, because someone said the word for devil, and I was like, isn't that the same word they use for babies? And then I was like, they probably call babies that because it's also the word for red, and babies are red when they come out. And my girlfriend thought that that phrasing was just hilarious, so we got into this conversation about babies, which eventually led to the semantic differences between uterine fluids and vaginal fluids in childbirth, and that got us on this whole thing, because babies are effing weird, man. They come out all, like, shriveled and dented, and the doctor has to, like, shove their finger down their throats to clean out all the gunk so they can breathe human air. And let's not forget that weird meat tube that they have just sticking out of them, giving them nutrients and stuff from their mother's nutrient supply, and we just have to cut that shit off with scissors. It's wild. Anyway, Fire Force is just a shonen with some pretty fire animation. If you can stomach, like, Black Clover levels of shonen tropes, then go for it, I guess. Otherwise, hope you like tangents, because I'll be damned if your mind doesn't wander off 10 minutes into this, never to return. I know people are hype about this one, but skip. Sorry. Number 11. Given. The boys from Haikyuu start a band. A gay band! With at least 2 explicitly gay dudes worming their way into each other's hearts from episode 1. Full disclosure, were the romance in this show not gay, I would be entirely disinterested in it. The Hinata archetype is boring and kind of a stalker, and the Kageyama archetype is just Kageyama, but luckily for this show, it is gay. And any gay romance that gays even somewhat passably is worth a shot in my book. Luckily for me, the actual plot of this one is worth watching for in its own right. A jaded, professional quality guitarist learning to find joy in his art again at the hands of a wide-eyed newbie who also just happens to be very, very bangable is always a recipe for a heartwarmer. Let's hope this one avoids the apparently contractually obligated sexual assault that seems to come with every male-on-male romance with fewer than 3 exclamation points in the title. Strong test / wary watch. Number 12. Gorgeous butterfly, young Nobunaga. What if Oda Nobunaga and everyone he knew were hot anime boys just ripe for the shipping? That's the question that brings us into our thrice-yearly Sengoku historical drama about Oda Nobunaga and everyone he knew being hot anime boys just ripe for the shipping. This show's first episode feels like the exposition crawl at the beginning of Star Wars, except it doesn't stop. And while that hopefully won't be a problem in later episodes, it's a signal that subtlety and technical skill aren't exactly priorities in the writing room. Not to mention, it's kinda weird to have the whole first episode of a historical fiction be exposition when your intended audience should just know this stuff. It didn't hit me at first as a Western viewer, but to a Japanese audience watching a show about one of the most dramatic periods of Japanese history, I can't imagine this coming off as anything more than a worse-written episode of Liberty's Kids. It does pick up a bit by the end of the episode, and there's a fairly engaging interaction between young Nobunaga and his pappy, but that's the thing about these shows. They aren't bad. There are just 7,000 of them, and they're all the same. This one is the same. Skip. Number 13, Gran Bellman. This Madoka analog gets transported to another world where she has to unlock hidden powers within herself to win a battle royale against a troupe of mecha-piloting magical girls, and if that isn't the most anime thing you've heard in the last year, then I don't know what to tell you. Unfortunately, as a result of being anime with a capital A, it doesn't really do anything that's worth doing. The first episode is taken up entirely by a no-context fight scene, and I can't really see the rest of it doing anything to deviate from the same shtick that Fate has been doing for like 10 years now, but this time with robots. Watch basically any other Battle Royale series to see this done better. Skip. Number 14, Hakata Mentai Pirikarako-chan. All I can assume about this one is that it's some kind of commercial for a product whose primary demographic is Lovecraftian squid folk whose needs are beyond mortal comprehension. An elf working for her grandmother spits pollock roe all over her city in an attempt to improve sales, and apparently it works. Sentient strawberry cannibalism, meat rocket to the stars, Team Rockets blasting off again. There's no making sense of this one. If that's your bag, then ignore the 5.09 that it has on Mal and buckle in because you're in for a treat. If not, there's nothing for you here. Skip. Number 15. Hensuki, are you willing to fall in love with a pervert as long as she's a cutie? Question for the heckin' ages. As much as I wanted to do the harem anime bit from the Winter 2019 video again, this is, unfortunately, not a harem anime. Hi there, Bryant. It's Bryant from 2 episodes in the future. It is. While there is a swath of potential females who could have possibly sent Protagonist-kun their panties with that mysterious note, our intrepid hero does pair up mano e womano with the girl who both wants to sex him and is not his sister. Hey, 2 episodes in the future, Bryant here. He does not. If not for the existence of Oh Maidens in Your Savage Season, I could see this show being kinda decent for anybody who's interested in seeing how different anime portray sexuality. It's not good by any means, but it's weirdly engaging and hard to stop watching. 2 episodes in the future, Bryant here. We are up to date. My friends and I are up to date on Hinsuki, are you willing to fall in love with a pervert as long as she's a cutie? I'm not gonna update the blurb at all, but unfortunately this is very watchable. In the words of my girlfriend, I'm upset that it exists, I'm upset that it works, and I'm upset that it got me. A very begrudging test. Number 16. How heavy are the dumbbells you lift? I don't know how a bodybuilding show skipped leg day, but here we are. High school girl gets fat-shamed into joining a gym so that she can fulfill her womanly duty of satisfying the male gaze. This show is trash that's trying to be trash, but for all you male gays out there looking to be satisfied, there is some very impressive buff dude animation that you might want to check out. Otherwise, you are going to die someday, and when you do, you're going to regret spending 24 minutes of your precious time on this. Skip. Number 17. If it's for my daughter, I'd even fight a demon lord. Generic D&D adventurer finds a small girl in the woods and decides to use her in a vain attempt to inject some purpose into the terrifying void of his fast-approaching early 20s. If you watch this show, then you're investing in its potential. It's a cute child doing cute things show with a fantasy twist, and the first episode doesn't offer much to be excited about unless that's just your thing. But the themes of the story do lend themselves well to exploring questions of interpersonal communication, parenthood, responsibility, finding meaning in life, and not being racist, among other things. So assuming it doesn't totally blow it in the execution, this one will likely get better as it goes on. Test. Number 18. Isekai Cheat Magician.
この時、俺は確信した。魔物にミスリルの矢、それに魔法、まるで RPG。
Skip. Number 19. Lord El Malloy II's case files Rail Zeppelin Grace Note. One of the things that you're taught in creative writing classes is that during the introduction of your story, you should strive to show the reader exactly what they're going to be in for the duration of your story. In that respect, Lord El Malloy II's case files Rail Zeppelin Grace Note is an unparalleled success. The droning, pretentious, up-its-own-ass, meaningless philosophical dribble that fills the show's first 3 or 4 minutes is an excellent analog to the nonsensical, winding pseudoplot and deliberately obtuse character writing that spreads like a festering mold through the pages of this show's script. It's very pretty. If you want pretty, go look at pictures of the Grand Canyon or Natalie Dormer. I assure you, you will have a better time. Also, the hell is a rail zeppelin? It should either not have rails or not be a zeppelin. Having a rail zeppelin defeats the purpose of both rails and zeppelins. For God's sake, think for a second. Skip.
Hello, Internet. 2 things. First off, I did not realize, as I was writing this, that Lord El Malloy II's case files Rail Zeppelin Grace Note is a spin-off of Fate, and I've never seen Fate, so I didn't have appropriate context to enjoy this while I was watching it, which might be why I hated it so much. That said, it is a spin-off of Fate, not like a sequel or anything, so I feel like it should be able to stand on its own, and it kinda doesn't. But that brings us to the second thing, which is that I might have watched the wrong thing entirely. There is an OVA of Lord El Malloy II's case files Rail Zeppelin Grace Note that I think might be listed as episode 0 of the series on Verve, and I could have watched that instead because that's the one that autoplays when you type in Lord El Malloy II's case files Rail Zeppelin Grace Note in Verve. The first episode of the series that aired in the summer is completely different. It takes place in Iraq and has like an Indiana Jones kind of feel, I think. I didn't really watch it. I saw some clips and saw like, that's not what I watched. But it might actually be good. I have no idea. If you're a Fate fan, definitely check it out. But if you're a Fate fan, then you knew about it and we're going to check it out anyway, no matter what I said. So take that however you want. I do stand by the Rail Zeppelin thing. That is nonsense. Be sure to drink your Audible.
Number 20. Magical Senpai. Sagiri from Eromanga Sensei grows up and becomes a mediocre magician who can't seem to keep from falling over and showing her panties at every opportunity. I guess Masamune had some effect on her after all. Show's garbage, man. It's 12 minutes long and we didn't make it through 10. All the gags start with look how bad this girl is at magic tricks and end with look how good this girl is at spreading her legs. Not worth your time to watch, not worth my time to write about. Next, skip. Number 21. Maou-sama Retry. The edgy isekai cousin of the fantasy-themed Usagi Drop wannabe we talked about earlier. Maou-sama Retry is basically the same show as If It's For My Daughter, I Would Even Fight a Demon Lord, except that instead of starring this generic yet charming 18-year-old father figure, it stars this man. Do not let your underprivileged blonde orphan girls be fooled. This man is not cute. He is an unsavory mafioso who smokes the cigarettes and says the fuck word, and also his show is bad. Skip. Number 22. Oh, Maidens in Your Savage Season. 5 high school girls simultaneously have their sexual awakening at the hands of expertly written erotic literature. No jokes here, this is one of the realest, funniest, and most striking anime I have seen in the last few years. It knows what it's doing, and it does it, perfectly capturing the awe, excitement, terror, and honest-to-God cringe of one's first thoughts of tasting the forbidden fruit's sweet juices. Masterfully written high school characters in a world laced with hilarious and expertly executed visual metaphor that'll have you feel like you're going through puberty again. Not sure how well this one succeeds as a shonen, but it is an absolute must-watch this season. Watch. Number 23, The Ones Within, now streaming. A bunch of streamers and Let's Players are sucked into an alternate world by an alpaca man who wants them to drum up views for his new reality TV show, The Ones Within. It's Review Starlight for the modern age, without any of the things that made Review Starlight good. As an online content creator, parts of the show did resonate with me, and I would happily call it my bad anime of the season if not for the fact that I watch anime with my girlfriend now mostly, and I don't want her to have to suffer through this for my sake. There's stuff here, kinda interesting stuff, if you like, stuff, I guess, but it's not gonna make it on any best of lists. Test. Number 24, To the Abandoned Sacred Beasts. Civil war breaks out in a not-European colony in not America in the not-late 1800s. When all looks hopeless for the not Union, they develop magical animorphs to win the war for them. Big surprise, genetically engineered super soldiers are hard to control, and now Protagonist McBadass is out to kill his entire squadron of freaks before they can freak up the whole new world. I went into this show with very low expectations, and came out of it with a series that I expect to watch to the end. The plot moves like a greased cheetah on roller skates, but for what seems to be a largely character-driven battle show, it's not really a sin to sweep the Great Civil War under the rug 2/3 of the way through episode 1. I'm pretty excited about this one. Fun and badass with good fight choreography and just the right amount of edge. Test optimistically. Number 25, Vinland Saga. Be not fooled by the protracted Viking Rambo fight scene that takes up the first few minutes of this series. Vinland Saga appears to be a deeply characterized and dramatic story of kinship, honor, and discovery told through the lens of a family of Icelandic Vikings in the early 11th century. Beautifully paced and gorgeously animated, I can barely even bring myself to make jokes. This guy looks like he has slugs on his head. Haha, funny joke. Watch this one, for sure. And finally, number 26, Wasteful Days of High School Girl. A new inductee at an all-girls high school undertakes the Sisyphean effort of becoming popular with the guys. I did laugh more than a few times while watching the first episode of this, so I guess I can't call it a complete waste of my time, but I also can't really recommend it to anyone in particular. It's got its moments, for sure, but it doesn't really have the consistent chuckles to be called a comedy series or the lovable characters of a moe high school girl show. It's not bad, and the art is fine. There are just better shows on offer this season. Watch it if you're out of other things to do, otherwise skip. And we're done. Hopefully that turned you onto a few series that you otherwise would have missed from this season, or convinced you to stay away from some bad ones that you were considering trying out. Either way, I hope this video was helpful to you, and I hope it comes out earlier in the season than the last one did. Here are my 3 major recommendations again, and again, I don't know exactly what's going to be here since I have to record this in a rush before tearing down my recording setup for the move, but I do know that Vinland Saga and Maidens are going to be there, so that should tell you exactly how good those 2 series are. If you want something different and don't mind taking a risk on something that probably won't be good, then I have to recommend Do You Love Your Mother and Her 2-Hit Multi-Target Attacks, The Ones Within, now streaming, Are You Lost, and, unfortunately, Sookie, Are You Willing to Fall in Love with a Pervert as Long as She's a Cutie? Again, these are not good shows, at least they probably aren't, they're just interesting shows. And if that piques your curiosity, then give them a try. Today's lucky patron is Danielle Delp, who's been a patron at the $1 tier for the last 5 months. People think $1 doesn't make much of a difference, but it's over 100 times more than I make per person in ad revenue, and plus it means that people care enough about my content to actually reach into their wallets and give something for nothing, which is still kinda crazy to me. So thank you. Your support is very much appreciated. If you love my content and want to see more, then you can join Danielle and all of these other lovely folks over at patreon.com/explanationpoint and maybe pick up some cool perks for yourself. I also think this video is sponsored, but my pseudo manager and I have been talking with a few different companies and nothing is quite locked in yet, so assuming I'm not making a total fool of myself, be sure to get your free trial or your discount or your insert perk here by following the link in the description to, I think, Audible?
Yes, you dolt. It is Audible. Go to audible.com/explanationpoint, get your free trial, link in the description, or it's the future, text exclamation point to 500 for the same thing. Also, check out the new workspace. Brand new apartment, green and black sound panels. Look at all that. We got a fan. It's fancy in here. Get it? Do you get my joke about the fan? Because I said that it's fancy, and, well, there's the magic wall. We got Stardew Valley. It's a whole shelf full of D&D minis. It's great. It's a grand old time. All moved in, everything's settled. Consume your Audible, link in the description. Text exclamation point to 500. Free audiobooks, 2 free audio originals, Audible originals, every month. I'm stumbling all over my words here for comedic effect, but it is legitimately a very good deal.
So either way, go ahead and click that link.
Or it's the future, text exclamation point to 500 for the same thing.
Helps me out, helps you out. Alright, I promise that's all I've got to say. So until next season, folks, this has been Explanation Point, selling out.